Hi everyone! Today I'm going to be making a video of how to prepare and prep for a live model horse show. So I've been showing model horses at live shows for 12 years now, and I'm going to kind of show you guys how to get a rough idea of how to get ready for a show. First off, you have to find a show in an area of where you live. So I'm in Region 10, and all around the United States, there's different regions. So you can look on the like NAN website, and then there's other websites if you just type in live model horse shows and stuff will probably pop up. So for my region, we have a Region 10 website which lists all the shows that are available in the area, which is super useful. And also it doubles as a tag system. So whenever you're showing model horses, you'll probably see pictures of people with tags on their models, on their legs. So you have to say, you pick a model, and so this one is my model. His release was Galad, and his breed, I have him as a Lusitano. So it's the breed, the gender, the finish. He's a OF, which is original finish. And then in our region, we're assigned a number. So you keep this number for as long as you're going to show. So my number is 524, and every horse I register gets their own specific number. So you start at 001, 002. So this model is number 213. So, but I put my show number dash the model's number. And then it's the horse's name and then the owner's name below it. So that way no one accidentally picks up your model. So the purpose for doing this is models are judged on breed. So that's why you need to have a breed on the tag. Not too much they're judged on the gender in our area from what I've really noticed. And then they're judged by original finish, custom, and then the number the judges write down on a list, so it can just go right into the tag system. So they'll type in a number and the model's name will pop up if you're in the system. So that's what we have for our region, but every region might be a little different. So this is kind of like what I do. And then also if we win class, usually they'll write down the horse's name, because if they pick them for champion or reserve, they usually announce them at most shows. So this is how a tag is typically filled out. Usually what I do then is I will print out the class list. So I found a show that's close to my house. I print out the class list. I have models tagged, any new models that I received this year, like 2018 models. I pick a breed, I give them a number, and then I give them a name, and then I register them in the Region 10 tag system. And then what I do is I write the model's name down next to the class. And this is to kind of keep myself organized, because I'm not going to remember over 100 horses where they're going to be like at any given moment. So it's nice to have something written in front of you. So I used to hand write the whole list and then have more space and then write each horse's name so I could put placings down, but I have a special book that I just write into when I get the ribbons, just so I can keep track of stuff. So this is how I typically do it now, just kind of save time. And then it's just like all the classes. So each show will have rules, they'll have specific classes, so it's going to vary from show to show, from state to state. After that, when I have my models all picked out and tagged and registered, I usually print out the horse list and we hand it into the show hostess, and they use that for doing results. So say this model right here, Hypnotic Chocolate Rum, got first place, they would use their tags and like their information that I handed in to fill it out into the system online. And then we go back and we can actually see the results for all the shows that have been judged. So it's pretty cool. We have a really cool system in Region 10, so we're really lucky. I have no clue what other regions do. So after your models are picked and tagged and all that good stuff, then it's packing. So typically what I do, going back to the list, is I actually just packed all my foals, because this is the foal division, in like one container. So that blue container over there against the wall, that is all my foals in there, because foals tend to be a little bit smaller so they can fit in a small package. So typically how I try to pack is, so say the last class that I would have for foals would be 9 fantasy foals. I'd pack backwards. So I'd pack the fantasy foals, then the unrealistic colored, then the other foals, the light. That way the sports are on the top, meaning your first class is on top and so forth. So that way it keeps you organized. So when you are in a rush or need to pull out a horse really fast, if you don't have a lot of space, they're in order. So it gets a little bit trickier with the bigger models because I pack them in tubs. And so I figured usually my tubs, it depends on the size of the models though. You gotta figure draft horses are bigger and such. Usually I get about 17 to 20 horses in a tub, depending on how big they are. So if you have a lot of classics, you'll be able to fit more. If you have mainly traditionals, you'll be able to fit a little less. So you gotta play around with that a little bit. So say I can fit all the pony breeds and sport breeds, just as an example, into one tub. I'd pack like the last pony breed in on the bottom of the tub, and then the first model in the tub would be number 1, thoroughbreds, meaning as you're unpacking, the horses come out in the order that the classes will be called. So that way it keeps you organized. No one has to do this. This is just how I do it, and it's very useful. And then once my tubs are loaded in order, I write, so say I have the sport breeds and the pony breeds in that tub, I'll write original finish on top, number 1 thoroughbred, on bottom, say number 10 other part pony breed. So that way I know what's on the top and I know what's on the bottom, just glancing at the tub without having to dig into it. So that's what I do. And I put my name on that paper too. And I just tape it right on the tub and then rip them off after every show, because that's just how I do it to organize myself. Because if you have like all black tubs or all green tubs or whatnot, you're not going to know which one's which, and unless you dig in through them. But when you're in a crammed show hall and you have a lot of horses, you can't really mess around too much if you're organized. So that's typically how I pack and kind of get the horses picked out. And then choosing models to show, it really varies. I have a huge show string, so sometimes I'll rotate models and I'll be like, all right, I'll pull this one out and see how he does at this show, or give this model another chance. So usually I'll give a couple models like a chance or two, and sometimes you have to try a couple different breeds, not on the same day though. You assign a model a breed for the show, you enter your class. If they don't pin, maybe the next show you can change your breed, but don't enter 2 classes in one day, because that's just not fair. So I have a variety of models. Like you can see a more like vintage model, draft horse, and then a newer like web special. So I show a mix from like vintage to newer ones, and I have a mix of stones and briars. And the show that I'm going to be doing is original finish, and then they have artist risen / custom performance, and I'm only doing a couple classes in that. And then they also have China in like in / risen category, so I'm going to be showing in that also. So I pack usually the performance stuff separate. I really heavily pack the Chinas and like the little risens, like the briar risens, because they're more breakable. So you got to be really careful with those. I try not to pack the tubs too tight with them. And then any models that are a little bit more special, like I have Chicory, so I will double wrap him, and I usually have bubble wrap and like pony pouches, so I'll do a mix. But I pretty much use whatever's soft and whatever is available to pack my models in. With customs, you're going to have to be more careful. Same with artist risens. Everybody does something different. I get a little worried putting them in a fabric because I've had it stick to a few of the models. So that's kind of like, you got to play around with them. So once everything's packed and good to go, I typically do documentation and reference photos for all my models. Documentation is pretty much, You have to say when the horse was made, what the horse's release name was, if they had a number, what their number was, how many were made, and so if it's a special Breyerfest model. So we'll use Galad here. So I'd find his number, I'd put his name. Usually I put like the color too, because that kind of helps you find your documentation easier. And then it would say like, I don't remember how many were made of him, but say like 700 made, and it was made in 2005 or something like that. I forget what year he was made, but you can go on identifyyourBreyer.com and they list all the information for models, and that's typically how I do my documentation for Breyers. And then anytime you get a model in a box that comes with a card, I usually cut out that card, hold on to it, because it has their number, has some information about the model, and that can help with their collectability wise. This particular model in front of me, I would have a reference photo that proves that this color is existent for this breed. And then I would have documentation for like how many were made, when he was made, he was a Breyerfest special run, etc., etc. And I would put those and lay them right in front of the model while he's showing, and then his tag would be facing out like that. So when the judge comes by, they can read the documentation, they can look at the reference photo, they can see his tag, and everything's right in front of the judge. So it's very highly recommended to have documentation for any model that you show, because it is impossible for a judge to know every single model ever made ever, whether it's a Breyer, Stone, China, etc. So sometimes I can't find information on certain Chinas because they're kind of like, there's a lot of different brands. So it's just do your best to find the documentation that's correct. And then reference photo is not mandatory, but say you're showing a funky breed or funky color, it's kind of helps to prove that it actually exists if a judge isn't familiar with the color or the breed. So that's when reference material is useful. It's not always necessary. Like say if you have like a thoroughbred, you don't need a picture of a bay thoroughbred. If you find a picture of a horse that looks exactly like the model, it's useful to put it with the model. You don't have to, but that's kind of like my opinion. Like I'm like, oh my god, this horse looks just like this one, I'm gonna put the reference photo with. That's typically how you show and stuff. And a lot of shows like that I've been to, they assign you a table and there's a time that you can go into the hall to unpack your horses. I unpack my horses in order, so it's like class 1 and so on, and I like put them on the table so I can grab them, put them in the show ring, and then I usually try to pack as I go when I'm showing, unless the model has to stay out for a champion class. So that's typically how I kind of work at model horse shows. And I typically show a lot of models. When you're first time showing, I don't recommend showing a lot because you might get overwhelmed, and it's okay if you miss a class because it happens to everybody, no big deal, but you don't want to feel so stressed out that you're like losing your bananas. It helps to start with a few models and then go from there, or pick like a certain category you want to be showing in, whether it's custom or OF or performance, etc. And I've tried a mix of everything because I kind of like a little bit of everything. So I used to do performance when I was younger, and then I stopped, and now I'm slowly trying to get back into it because it's really hard to be competitive because everybody's really competitive in Region 10, and just try to be as organized as you can. I'll definitely pack extra bubble wrap or pony pouches just in case you buy something or something happens to one of your pieces of bubble wrap, like it wanders off during the show or something. It's always good to have extra. I always pack pens, pencils, tape, scissors, sticky wax, glue, a little notebook to write results in. I would bring extra discs for models that tend to break their discs, or extra bases if you have extra bases, paper clips or rubber bands, something to just keep paperwork organized. I bring other notebooks. If you feel like you have a big wait in between classes, it helps to bring like a magazine or a sketchbook or anything like that. So you're not just twiddling your thumbs if you don't have many horses in the classes. It helps to watch and kind of look around and see what else people have. And this usually sale horses typically at live shows, so you might encounter something that you really want. but no, it's pay attention to like the classes so you don't miss them, and mingle with your fellow show entrants, because that's how you meet new people and you can make some best friends. And then it's a lot of fun though. So, and you got to do your research. You can't just pick a breed out of the air and assign it to a model. You want to do a little bit of research. So I put a lot of time and effort when I show model horses. Like it's hours for prepping. So if you show the same horse every single show, you have that information already out for the model. You don't have to keep redoing it. So I try to keep my old documaterial handy or safe so I don't lose it, because when you lose it, you got to refill it all back out, find that reference photo again, etc. So I hope this video helped you guys. I tried not to be too rambly. There's so many like little things to remember for a show. But if anybody ever has any questions, you can always leave a comment. And live showing is tons of fun. And it's pretty much just getting out there and seeing how a show is run and bringing out some ponies and see how they do. But, well, thank you for watching, and I hope you guys enjoyed this video.